Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the CRKT Up At Em. Nice little budget knife from CRKT, and we're going to go ahead and do some size comparisons here. Here is the Benchmade Super Freak and the Spyderco Para 3. Now the Benchmade Super Freak is the same size end to end as the Paramilitary 2. That should give you guys some good size comparisons there. You can see it's more the size of the Para 2 than the Para 3. Now let's go ahead and put it up against the Civivi Shredder, another budget knife, budget-oriented knife. It's a little bit more expensive than this one, but similar size a little bit. Here's one in the same price range, although with a little bit more expensive scales. This is the CJRB Centros, which is actually a pretty good size comparison for it. Here is another CRKT, the CRKT LCK. This is obviously a little bit bigger than the CRKT LCK. Here's a Benchmade 940 for good measure. And I'm doing a lot of these slim knives because this knife is in fact a slim knife. This is the CJRB Rhea. And we'll just do a thicker knife so you guys can see that the tallness of this knife is not that tall. Let's go ahead and do let's do two more. The Benchmade Bugout is another slimmer. Let's do one that's a little taller. A little chunky boy is the ZT-0308. So while this is a full-size knife, it is dwarfed by the ZT-0308. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the good on this. So first of all, this is a Lurch design. Lurch has designed a lot of knives for CRKT, or a lot of good knives, and the CRKT LCK is one of them. The LCK is one of my favorite knives from CRKT, and this is also a great knife from CRKT, also a Lurch design. As you can see, he likes these slim profiles on the knives. This has a nice upswept blade, a little bit of flat, a lot of belly on this, and it is a hollow grind, and so it gets to a pretty slicey point there. It is a flipper, stainless steel frame lock, and it does have an over travel stop, which is another good feature of this. It has a deep carry clip, which I like very much. CRKT does a good job with the deep carry pocket clips on many of its knives, and the pivot is attractive. It looks a lot like some of Sinkovich's pivots a little bit on the ZT models, so that's nice there. And overall, the ergonomics are pretty good, but not great. I'd go ahead and give them maybe a 6.5 to a 7 on ergonomics, but they're pretty good overall. You do get a finger choil on this, and the blade gets a little bit close to the finger on here, but not too bad, especially if you just watch out to what you're doing. I don't think this is the type of knife you shouldn't say definitely, that you're necessarily going to bear down on in this way. I think you'll probably use it much more like this, but definitely is a nice addition to the knife if you do decide to bear down on it. The jimping on the spine of the blade is good and effective. It is not sharp in the least, and is, like I said, it's effective jimping, which is another great thing. And the overall aesthetics of the knife, I believe, I think it's a very good looking knife. Overall, I like a lot of the monochromatic tones on my knives. You know, one of my favorite combinations of colors is the stonewash against stonewash. So you can see that I like the monochromatic style on knives. All right, let's go ahead and look at some of the things that I don't necessarily like about this. While the action is good overall on the flip out, the action is not drop shot at all, as you can see on the way back down. So it is smooth. It is pretty smooth going out. I ended up misfiring that time because I hit my thumb on the firing, but the D10 will usually fire this out no problems. But on retraction, the knife just doesn't seem to want to move unless you force it down. Not really that much of a problem if you want to open and close it like this, but if you really like, you know, a drop shot action, this is not the knife for you, and just something to be aware of. The backspacer on here is plastic, It's a black plastic backspacer. I just don't think it fits the knife very well. I'm not really sure why they did it this way. I think some barrel spacers would have been probably better on this knife. And if they were going to do something, you know, back here, it probably, I prefer it to be in metal, but I know that would throw off the balance of the knife, which actually is a little bit back heavy to begin with. And so the balance on this knife is one of the other things that you'll notice is a little bit off on the knife as well. That has to do with the fact that you have heavy stainless steel handles, and so you do feel that there's not a whole lot of weight up in the blade. Also, the steel on this is 8CR13 MOV. I don't know if it says it on here, but I know that it is. Let me see if it says it. No, I don't think it says it, but it is 8CR13 MOV. 8CR is a decent, it's a Chinese steel. I believe it's Chinese steel. It's used on a lot of Chinese knives. But it's a decent steel for cheap budget blades, but it dulls very quickly. It's relatively stainless, and if you enjoy sharpening, it should be the steel for you. Other than that, I know a lot of budget knives these days like to use D2, and you know, CJRB is coming out with proprietary steels now. With this one, I forgot the name of it. It's AR RPM 9. Sorry, I had to look at that for a minute. And then, you know, you have things like, I don't know if this one has it, but you have 9CR 18 MOV on some of the Civivi knives, and Civivi does a great job with that. That's a little bit more edge retentive than the 8CR 13 MOV. So I would like to see the upgrade on the steel, but overall, I think that the steel choice is okay. The price on this is $32. I think that's a pretty good price, you know, for stainless steel handles and 8CR 13 MOV. That being said, just be aware that for $35, again, you can get the Centros with the G10 scales, not the micarta scales. The micarta scales are a little bit more expensive at around $50, but for $35 you can get the G10 version of the Centros, which I do think is a better knife. So while I think this is actually a pretty good deal, and it is a knife I can recommend, I think it's a good knife and here's my conclusion on this, is that it's a good knife overall, a knife that I can definitely recommend to anyone looking for a budget knife. It is not what I recommend if you have about $35 to spend. If you have about $35 to spend, I'd say go with the CJRB Centros. Go with the Feldspar, also from CJRB, or spend a little bit more money, get to $42, and you can get a Civivi Praxis. I don't have one of those on the table, but the Praxis is an amazing EDC knife. The Praxis seems to go in and out of stock a lot, and so if the Praxis is out of stock, also at $42 is the Civivi Backlash, which is another great model. So again, stiff competition for these for the CRKT Up At Em in the $30 to $40 price range, but it does hold its own, and I'm going to say that it is a knife I would recommend overall, with the caveat that there are other knives that I would recommend over it in the same price range. Thanks so much for watching. Hope this was a helpful video for you guys. This one's going out to a viewer who won it in a giveaway. If you like giveaways, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on my channel, because I do a lot of them, and hit the notification bell so you get all my content. Go ahead and like this video and drop a comment. Let me know if you have this knife or if you own any of Lurch designs and what you think of them. Thanks so much.